Hello, gorgeous.
You see, in this world, there's two kinds of people, my friend.
Be afraid. Be very afraid.
You're tearing me apart!
On your butt.
Round up the usual suspects.
Fasten your seatbelts. It's going to be a bumpy night.
Yeah, were we live when I did that?
We are now. That is so badly 90s of you right there. That's just horrific.
Whatever. Loser.
So, welcome back, everybody, to another episode of Midnight Movie Nerds.
Getting it right this time.
Yeah. I know. Without a sign this time, too.
No.
You know what it is? It threw me off last time. That's
really
what it was.
Did. Yeah, of course it did.
So,
use that as an excuse.
It is 100% my excuse.
Yes.
So, today we are actually going to count down our top 10 favorite 90s
cliched teen movies. It's a very important part of this.
Cliche. As cliche as possible.
Because there are a lot of teen movies that came out in the 90s. I think it was kind of a renaissance of almost the 80s Brat Pack era of the 90s, is there was a ton of content that came out directed towards teens during that time. So we whittled down to our top 10s.
Yes.
For both of us, which are shockingly different. Not so shockingly
different. Completely different.
Well, you can tell the difference in our childhood by the movies we picked as what films we found influential during our childhood.
And once we get to one, we're going to bring up a story that we recently watched that I definitely think will be important for everybody to know about.
I think so. But before we get started on our picks, I wanted to go over some of the picks that came in from our post the other day.
Yes.
So, and not that there's not a big shiny clue behind us of our movies that we picked, but anyway. So, from Jen, definitely Clueless. And then 10 Things I Hate About You, which is based off the book Emma.
Yeah.
Jane Austen's Emma. So, thank you for that one. Bruce said, Go,
which I agree. That is one of those underappreciated that it came in right on the wire where, it is just on that point where it is a 90s movie.
Yep. Jen also said Edward Scissorhands.
I don't know if that's a teen movie, though.
I think it is a teen movie because I think, what is her name? The chick that's in it. You know who I'm talking about.
Yeah, no, but I don't think so.
I think because if you're going off of like her notoriety from like Heathers and stuff like that, Winona Ryder, right?
Yeah.
So I can see how it could slide into the teen. And wasn't she was supposed to be in high school during that, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I can see. I mean, it's not teen focused, but
I don't know about that.
Let's see, and then
call a red flag.
Name too.
Astrid.
Okay, The Craft and Hackers.
Yes, which I definitely agree, and you'll see it on my list for sure.
And then Matt said Team Clueless. What, Matt? Me and you?
I like Clueless, but not enough to put on my top 10.
Irene said Clueless too, though. So
yeah,
you are almost outvoted.
I'm fine with that. We had that argument on Manbitesmedia. If you don't know, check out that last episode because we went in depth about that.
About Clueless?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, there you go.
So I think because we did the what do you call it, the bucket list, remember?
Oh yeah. There you go.
So that it shows up on there, but honestly, let's go into our top 10s.
Sounds like a plan.
Ladies first.
All right. So I'm going to start with my top 10 pick, which was American Pie, which came out in 1999.
Which is right on that cusp.
It is the cusp, but the reason I picked this is actually I was working at a movie theater during that time, and we had a line out the door to see American Pie, which I see that face. So basically what I think was so impactful about this is it brought that whole drive of getting laid in high school out into the open in a very obvious way and the awkwardness of boys during that time.
I just never got into it.
I know. It's not my favorite movie, but I think in terms of its impact and the fact that it spawned off several sequels and people get
garbage.
That reference now. I mean, Stifler's Mom, who doesn't know that reference? So for me, I think it was a huge influential in terms of a cultural impact of that time.
Okay. My personal pick for number 10, because this is a very personal pick of mine, is Don't Tell Mom the Babysitter's Dead, which this is Christina Applegate, dude. This is post, like, right there in that era where she was hot shit, for lack of a better word. And dude, I remember going to this. I was 6 years old, and we went. 6
years old, really?
6 years old.
Brandon, you are right. He had such a screwed up childhood. I mean, come on, dude. Seriously?
So I was 6 years old, and I got my parents sent me to summer camp, and I forgot what movie we went to watch. But then I saw Christina Applegate, and I was like, oh my God, I must watch this movie.
You were jonesing for a woman at 6 years old. Wow.
We'll get into that later. But honestly, I was like, yes, I gotta watch. But the whole crew was actually leaving. You know, the whole summer camp was leaving, and I was like, I live 2 blocks away. I could walk home. I know how to get there from here. So yes, I actually snuck into Don't Tell Mom the Babysitter is Dead at 6 years old, and then walked home without my parents finding out about it, which was glorious, by the way.
Of course they didn't. All right. Are we ready to move on to number 9?
Yes.
I picked Now and Then. I don't
remember this movie.
Okay, so it's a coming-of-age story set in, I believe it's the 60s, and it's 4 girls, and they're going through life in the 60s, and it's basically as adults, that one of the adults remembering this very pivotal summer in their lives when they were actually building a tree house together. But it was basically a turning point. It was dealing with the divorce that somebody went through. It was them coming into their own as women. I believe they were about 13, so that's why I picked it. And I think it's one of those movies. It's got Rita Wilson, Demi Moore, Roseanne.
Yeah. I have seen it. Okay.
So yeah, but I think it was one of those movies. It's kind of that sweet coming of age story, and it was one of those comparing now and then. And I think a lot of kids connected with it during that time. So that's my number 9 pick.
Nice. Number 9 for me is Hackers.
Of course.
Perfect timing. Angelina Jolie.
You didn't time that at all.
At all. Angelina Jolie. This is another one just in the cusp of her starting off her career, and it was her first film. And let me tell you, she was a looker in that.
I know that you said that many times.
A heartthrob back then, especially for a young Louis, you know. And
that was before she got kind of, I don't know.
She pumped her lips even further.
She's kind of weird looking now.
She had DSL lips already back in Hackers, but then it just it's like no, nasty. But honestly, this movie is just great because it captured that cyberpunk era. Honestly, it is not the best movie about cyberpunks or hackers or anything, which that was actually brought up in one of the comments, that it isn't a very faithful true to the actual science behind hacking, especially back then. Yeah. But it was fun. It was so much fun. Yeah. And Matthew Lillard, which he has a special place in my heart.
Everyone has a special place in your heart.
No, but
you're walking
Matthew
into a
Lillard,
theater at 2 years old watching Hackers and getting jonesed for Angelina Jolie.
Hey, I was 10 years old, okay? At that point, I was 10 years old already.
All right. We ready to move on?
Yes.
Okay. My number 8 pick was Romy and Michelle's high school reunion. Yes. Now, it came up in the comments. I shared the post on my personal page, and it came up a few times in the comments there.
Really?
So I don't think I'm alone in the Romy and Michelle. Because Romy and Michelle, I think it's just, I freaking love Lisa Kudrow in this movie. I think it's a movie that was made for her. She just excelled so well in it. And then the other girl, I'm forgetting her name. I
know who you're talking about. Yeah.
Anyway, I love them in this movie. I think it's all about that looking, especially when you watch it as an adult. And
I never watched it as a kid
in high school. So I
watched
love
it as an adult.
Exactly. And I think it's that kind of movie where everybody relates to it. You know, when they talk about the groups, like the A group and the B group and the nerds and all this stuff. And I think people relate to it. I just think it's freaking hilarious. I think it's hilarious. Now, I love the chick in it who smokes the quick bird cigarettes.
Yeah.
I love her so much as an actress, though. I mean, I love it. I love everything about this movie. I think it's awesome. And I think a lot of people remember it. Again, those references, and just you bring it up and it brings certain memories, and just it's something you recall and you can rewatch a bunch of times. So that is my number 8 pick.
Sweet. My number 8 is actually Encino Man, which for me in high school and middle school, Pauly Shore was the shit. I fucking loved Pauly Shore between Biodome, Son-in-Law, Encino Man. Oh, I fucking loved his movies. In the Army Now. Oh my God, that was glorious, you know? Those movies were so much fun, and it was literally the epitome of high school life for me. Because as in this one in particular, this actually takes place in high school, and it has Brandon Fraser back in the day when he could actually act.
Did you say Brandon?
Or
Brendan.
Brendan, whatever the fuck his name is.
You're thinking about your cousin.
Yeah, whatever.
It's a shout out to Brandon.
So yeah, that's my number 8. I actually might change one of mine
No, those
coming
are
up?
locked in. That's
No.
written in dry erase. That's
Yeah.
locked in then.
Well, they're getting erased. So go ahead. You're number 7.
My number 7 is Pleasantville.
I completely disagree with this one.
I love Pleasantville. I think it's amazing. I think it was such a cool movie during its time. I freaking love the movie
I
Pleasantville.
love the movie, but I don't think it is one of those
I think it's
quintessential teen
no,
movies.
I absolutely do. I love that movie so much, and I love it was freaking. Is that right? It was Reese Witherspoon, right?
Yes.
Yeah. I think she just. It was during that.
Oh, it was
time.
gloriously done. It was a beautiful movie.
But I think it was one of those ones where people. It's again one of those ones that you connect with, you remember, and it was so visually beautiful. I could not leave it off my list as a teen movie of the 90s that was actually beautiful and an amazing story, unlike the other teen movies on this list sometimes.
Perfect timing.
Which
Kids
are somewhat more cliched. I think this was a beautiful film, and it was directed towards teens, which I love.
I don't think it was. I
Well,
think it's
you're
more of
wrong.
an adult film.
You're wrong.
But hey.
I watched it as a teenager.
Really?
Came out in 1998, yeah.
I don't remember that as a teen. I watched it later on.
I watched it when it came out in theaters. See, that's the movies I watched. But
Yeah. Well, mine is actually perfect timing once again.
Not
Number
planned at
7
all.
is Mallrats. I fucking love this movie. This was one of those. This came out in 1995. I think I first watched it probably like 97, 98 era. It wasn't like right when it came out. I don't remember this in theaters. But I love this, and it was the introduction to Kevin Smith movies.
Hang on a second. I'm looking in the comments. Which one is so cute visually? Are you talking about Mallrats? I wouldn't call that cute. So I'm hoping you're talking about my pick, but maybe you're talking about Mallrats as an adorable movie.
No, I think she's actually talking about Pleasantville.
What?
It's pleasant.
It is.
Huh?
The things that are pleasant from the things that are unpleasant.
Which many of mine
That's
are.
why it's awesome.
Come on, you have Mallrats, which has the 3-nipple lady, the fortune teller with 3 nipples. That is just fucking glorious. And then the sailboat, the schooner. It is a sailboat. I fucking love that movie.
Oh my God!
And
yes,
then
of course
the
you do.
best part, the chocolate-covered pretzels.
Don't even go
I
there.
will
No.
never eat a chocolate-covered pretzel ever in my life again because of that fucking movie. Ever.
All right.
Ever.
Okay,
So yours.
moving on
Uh-huh.
to number 6. I am moving into the scary cliched movies of the time, and I'm putting
Scary.
I Know What You Did Last Summer.
Mm-hmm.
And I think the reason I picked this one is because it has a lot of cliched teen people in it. It had Freddie Prince Jr., it had
It did.
Jennifer Love Hewitt, it had Sarah Michelle Gellar. There's one more that I'm missing in there. There's a fourth one in there. Ryan Phillippe, is that how you say his name?
Yeah.
So they were like, they sort of ruled the screen for a little bit in the 90s.
They really did.
were the symbol of 90s teens movies. And I think I Know What You Did Last Summer, it combined a lot of those different elements. It was trying to be scary. It also had the guy who was in Big Bang Theory as a secondary character. in the
Yeah,
movie, John
back
Galecki.
in the day, that's
John
right.
Galecki. So it had a lot of people in there.
Yeah.
It had a lot of those cliche teen, I'm going to go, something bad's going to happen. I'm going to be stupid and I'm going to run after noises that I hear in the dark. So I think that it had a lot of impact. I think people remember it. Again, it's a movie people remember, which is why I threw it on the cliched list.
I would put Scream above that one.
Yeah.
But I wasn't a big fan of those movies, honestly, back then.
But
Next
we're going
one,
for what is a cliched impact, not whether or not you're a fan of it.
Yeah, but it's my personal choices too. And I have some good horror ones. Yes, Astrid agreed with you. It was Pleasantville.
Oh, okay, good. Root for Pleasantville.
So the next one that I want to bring up, I'm very torn between taking one of these two off, the number
I told you,
6
it's
or
locked
number
in there.
5.
It's locked in there. You
But
can't
I am
just
going to
erase,
take-
dry erase.
I am going to erase number 6. The original pick that I had was Empire Records, but I'm sorry, that is getting booted for Almost Famous. I completely forgot that this was a teen movie, and this needs to be on this list.
Okay.
For sure. Almost Famous is one of those movies that I personally fucking
I've heard you
love.
talk about it before. So.
Cameron Crowe,
Yep.
his writing and directing of this movie is something to behold.
Mm-hmm.
Like, just the characters are all flawless. They're perfect. If you've ever been a struggling artist as a teenager or been through that phase where you don't know, but you want to try something artistic and give that chance and put yourself out there,
Mm-hmm.
that's what this movie's about.
Yep.
And then it has that overbearing mother, which is just perfect
Right.
for those teen movies, because I remember my mom being all crazy ape shit when I was a kid around that time.
Yeah.
And I remember her going completely nuts with me because I was a handful. And
No, not at all.
and it felt like that. Like those scenes with the sister are just perfect because that's exactly how I think I drove my mom crazy with. So I really think that I associate with that movie. Not only does it have a badass soundtrack, that scene with Tiny Dancer is probably one of the most memorable scenes with a music backdrop, like a montage sequence. Yep. That is one of the best montages I have ever seen in my life. Okay. So yeah, that's my number 6.
Okay. Going into my number 5 and continuing with the trend of Sarah Michelle Gellar and Ryan Phillippe and Reese Witherspoon again is Cruel Intentions.
I'm amazed that you watched this as a kid.
Okay, so my mom actually took me to the theater to see this, and I heard women, and I was young. Came out in 99, so I was like, what, 13?
Was it really that?
13, 14? Anyway, I heard some women whispering in the back going, why are there children here? But it is a remake of 2 movies that my mom actually really likes, Dangerous Liaisons and then Valmont. So it's a updated version of that story. And since I'd seen both of those, there was no reason not to go see it. And like you, my mom didn't pay attention to ratings. It was never a thing in our house. So when I went there, it wasn't a big deal. I had seen worse already. But I put Cruel Intentions on there because I think it was one of those ones which pushed the envelope that kids got into because it was really it was R-rated, but it definitely pushed some very, what's a good word for it? Salacious themes in it.
Really
there are
did.
A lot. It's a very dark movie. And again, it had those teen, queen, king people in the movie, which I think is why it goes on the list for me, because I think it was one of those crazy movies that people they went to because they wanted to see it because it had a lot of sexuality, a lot of...
And the soundtrack kicked ass. Thank you, Astrid. That is a very
amazing.
good point.
It was absolutely amazing. I still play those songs in my car to this day. And
Seriously.
I think about the scenes in the movie. So I really freaking love this movie. I've watched it pretty recently, actually. So It came in as my number 5.
Okay. My number 5 is Dazed and Confused. Because this is the stoner movie for everybody. This is literally the epitome. Besides...
Not that you'd know.
Huh?
Not that you'd know.
No, never. Dazed and Confused and Fast Times at Ridgemont High are 2 of those movies that I bounced back and forth. But honestly, for me, Dazed and Confused actually made more of an impact because it came out around the time that I actually, it actually worked better for me. Right. And I associate it better because the characters were more real for me. Mm-hmm. But Fast Times at Ridgemont High was a real quick contender between these 2 movies, and I chose
Don't try
Dazed
to tuck in an extra. You don't get an 11th by throwing it in there.
I don't know what you're talking about.
All right. So coming in for number 4 for me, we're bringing it home. I picked The Craft, 1996, Fairuza Balk, and some other people who I've forgotten their name.
Fairuza Balk is a wonderful human being.
I don't love your name dropping. I love the movie, though. I love Fairuza Balk in it, especially when I contrast it to her role in Return to Oz.
Yes.
So I love this movie. I think it hit on so many 90s emo kid themes.
It really
Being
did.
the outcast, people getting into witchcraft during that time. I don't know if you guys remember from high school. I remember a lot of people walking around in black all the time, kind of being that offbeat group and going, ooh, I'm a witch now. I remember a lot of that in high school. So I think The Craft is another one of those ones people still watch to this day. It has a lot of impact. People remember it, and it's just an awesome movie. Okay. I freaking love The Craft. It's not in my top 10, but it is one of my favorite movies to rewatch again.
It's in your top 10 for this.
It is in my top 10 for this, but not of movies of all time.
Okay.
So I really like it. And I like the fact that the same guy who was in Scream, the guy who played Billy.
Yes.
He was in this with the same girl who was in Scream too, the freaking lead in Scream. So I think that's cool.
There's a lot of connections, yeah.
Yeah, I see, and again, but that's the kind of thing with my list is you see a lot of overlap.
With the actors,
So.
For me...
God, that's kind of pissed me off. What was her name?
I don't remember her name. I'm horrible with actors' names.
Oh, but I've got it back
names.
here.
Yes.
Why do you do that?
The next one that I want to bring up is Kids.
Nev Campbell.
This is a 1995 film.
Oh my gosh, he just made me watch this.
Yes.
No.
And this is a movie I connected with because I had a group of friends that were just like that around that same age. That 11 to 12 age, this is what we did.
I literally said, I feel like I have a peek into your life in Miami. I literally said that halfway through the movie. I was like, oh, I know you just a little bit better now.
Like that movie, I really did connect with it a lot as a kid. I saw this and I was like, holy shit, this is a wake-up call. This is a wake-up call for a lot of my friends. And when we watch this, we're like, holy shit, this needs to be brought up and shown in sex ed and all that stuff.
Yeah.
Because, yes, it is graphic. It is hard to watch. but it gets that point across. And sometimes those graphic images are the ones that stick with you the most.
Okay, but as a funny aside, to show the difference in our upbringing and background, there is a scene where a balloon is passed around the room. And I was like, why is there a helium balloon in here? And he's like, not helium in there.
Yeah. And I was like, and how quickly did I answer that question? That was the part that surprised you the most. You're like,
no, it didn't surprise me.
Well,
but it's the innocence that is my life. I was like, why is there a helium balloon in there?
no.
Wasn't helium.
Not at all. No.
All right, we ready to move on?
Yes.
Number 3.
Kids.
Scream.
Yes.
Is on my list, so it's ironic that you said you would place it higher on the list than I know you did last summer, because I did do that. Scream to me, and if you have watched the Manbitesmedia, listen to that podcast where they talked about it, and Brandon was completely wrong calling it a hot pile of doggy doo-doo. Scream is one, again, of my favorite movies because I think it has staying power. It has a lot of really great actors in it, and I like the storyline. I like it a lot. And it's also spurred so many sequels.
It really has.
And
but none of them good.
But again, hey, no. Scream 2 and 3 I like. Let's not go down that road again, because I will lecture you on that again. You, William Phoenix, and Brandon were all incredibly wrong, and I did lecture them, and I made Brandon issue a retraction on the following episode, at least for the sequel of it, the original sequel.
Uh-huh.
But in addition to being beyond a trilogy, it had 4, right? 4.
I think it's 5.
It had 4 or 5. It also spawned
3.
No, there's 4 at least. I know they did 4. I think you
Oh
got
yeah,
that
it is
early.
5. 5. My bad.
It also spawned the whole scary movie trend and the mask, the ghost mask. So it has had severe cultural impact, which I say makes it belong on the cliched top 10 list at the number 3 spot.
Ghostface never scared me.
I'm not saying it's scary. I'm saying it created a trend, and it was been ripped on so many times.
It really has, but in the worst way possible.
But it has made a mark. See, this is the difference. I'm going off of things that have made a mark and really just shifted the way things are done, and you're sitting there going, well, it's all cinema. It's
No.
cinema.
I didn't say it's not.
It didn't
cinema.
scare me, so it doesn't belong on the list.
No, I just didn't think it made an impact.
We just need severed
on
heads
me.
everywhere and blood pouring all over, which it had. Although, I will say, my daughter laughed at me. My daughter loves the Scream series, and she was asking me about it, and I said, I want to be killed first. And she's like, why? And I said, because then the knife is most sanitary. That's where my head goes. And she was like, you'd be dead even if you... I was like, but you don't want like a last minute infection. What if you didn't die? What if you're like that cop? The guy, he kept surviving even though he was stabbed a bunch of times, and that knife was really dirty at that point. This is what
I don't even know the flawed logic behind that. So flawed.
As someone who understands my neuroses when it comes to germs and things like that, you'd think you would understand that there were like 7 or 8 people's blood on that knife. I hope they sanitized it between blood fests. Matthew Lillard. I hope he sanitized it.
I doubt he did.
You know, with a little alcohol wipe. Be respectful.
So my next pick, my number 3, is actually The Faculty.
How is that happening every time?
Huh? Oh no, this time I timed it.
Oh yeah.
So The Faculty, I fucking love this movie. This is the stereotypical horror movie for me of the 90s. I love this movie. It has an all-star cast. It has a beautiful soundtrack. That soundtrack still to this day I listen to. I fucking love their cover of Another Brick on the Wall. It is beautifully done. I love the acting in this. It feels like high school for real. It feels like people actually responding correctly.
Your high school.
Yeah. I mean, it just feels real, which that's what I like about horror movies. Not like I Know What You Did Last Summer or Scream.
And just a little stab at mine. Get it? Stab.
I think it feels like a real high school movie. This is what would
in a
happen.
counter argument, I feel like Scream and the fact that it has a sub movie within the movie, it has the Stab trilogy in it, which mocks itself. So it mocks itself over and over again, makes it awesome. The original one, I will admit, the sequels do get a little predictable. They do follow, and like again, listen to the Manbitesmedia because William Phoenix did an amazing recap review of all of them on there. But I do think Scream did a credible job as a high school movie and a depiction of high school.
Okay. And what's your number 2?
My number 2, bring it home. Clueless.
Yes. That is a good one. Yes.
Loser. I love the movie Clueless. As Jen pointed out, it is a remake of the original story by Jane Austen, Emma, Which, what I love about this movie, and it's the same thing with Cruel Intentions, is it makes classic stories accessible to teens.
It really does. And we'll talk about that a little later, too.
It really does. And yes, it does come up later on. But I think that is one of the brilliant parts of filmmaking, especially when you're directing towards teens, of how do you make these stories accessible? It's not like when they did Romeo and Juliet with Leonardo DiCaprio and Claire Danes, where I think they took the story and they kept it too much to the original, where it wasn't accessible anymore. But you take a movie like Warm Bodies, which took the same plot line and made it accessible. So I think Clueless takes this very classic story, which might be very hard for teens to get into in its original form, and it makes the story something they can relate to because it's relating to how they are now, which I love. And I think it's amazing. I think people still remember Clueless and its impact and all of that. So
I still think Mean Girls is a better movie overall. I will stand by that point that I made on Manbitesmedia film because I definitely say that Mean Girls is way superior than Clueless.
You're wrong, but
there's that battle between Heathers, Clueless, and Mean Girls. They're all about the same. I think
you're talking about almost 3 different generations depiction of
it. That's what it is.
Yeah, so you've got Heathers, which was 80s, Clueless, which is steeped in the 90s, and the cliche of everything that was the 90s, right down to the thigh-high socks and, and all that. And, and then you've got Mean Girls, which was into the 2000s. So it was a new generation. But I think for its time, Clueless. Yes. Jen. Yes.
Okay.
Yes. He's wrong. Yes. Yes.
Jen, I actually do really, really love Clueless. I own it. I like this movie a lot. But I still think that Mean Girls is superior. So
You just got a thing for Lindsay Lohan.
No. Not at all.
He's got her picture under his pillow.
Nope.
I can vouch for it.
My next one is Idle Hands. This is what I think of the epitome of the stoner horror comedy. I love this movie. This came out in 1999. It was right on the cusp of the 90s, the end of the 90s. And it is just glorious. It has an amazing soundtrack, which you'll notice that is a major trend in mine because I was a huge music aficionado in the 90s, and I'm going to swirl my cup of wine while I speak this,
Thank you.
Yeah. But no, I really do love my music soundtracks, and this was one of them that really stood out to me. Just this movie is just glorious. Screw you, Jen. Screw you so bad. Idle Hands is just fun, man. It is fun. It has those. How did you ever watch this?
I did.
Okay, what'd you think of it?
I mean, I don't think I had the same. What, you were so stacking the deck for you.
I am throwing them for you too.
Yeah.
So
I don't know. I didn't put it on my list, but.
So, listen, all right. I like the fact that this guy was able to he basically had his best friends that were dead and they've come back to life and he's able to hang out and hang with them still. And they're still the same kind of stupid stoners that existed before.
I can see why you connected with them.
It's just fun. It is so much fun. From the greaser to these stoner idiots and then the outcast in the group. And the fact that the crush from across the way type of thing, that stereotypical high school romance thing.
Yeah, of course.
And they did it with a twist, which was fun. It was great.
Okay, so we're going to calm you down and wrap this up with our number 1 pick, which we actually agreed on.
This is our only crossover movie.
This was the only one that matched up, and it was one of the most popular in all of the comments I saw. And that's going to be 10 Things I Hate About You.
Yeah. It is the stereotype of 90s. It is the epitome of the 90s movies.
It really is. And we actually agreed that it would be the top 10. And again, it relates back to reiterating a classic story. If you don't know, it's Taming of the Shrew for teens to make it approachable. And I love the way they did it. I love Heath Ledger in this movie. Yeah. It is actually one of my favorite Heath Ledger movies in general. And it came out in 1999. So again, right on the cusp of the 90s.
And Julia Stiles, I mean.
And I got to tell you, I love the dad.
Glorious.
I have a daughter. I'm going to get her one of those pregnancy bellies to make her wear. Every time you think of kissing a boy, imagine this under your halter top. I love that dad so much. And I love the soundtrack to this movie.
Yes.
I freaking love it. So this is one of my favorite
it really
ones.
does. And then my personal favorite aspect of this is the guidance counselor, the bratwurst. Aren't you modest? I fucking love her.
I love her, but I'm telling you,
movie.
I love the dad. I love his liners in it so much. I love when he's like the girl who gave birth today, the teenager, and she's like, I'm a crack whore, should have made my boyfriend wear a condom. He's like, no, I should have listened to my father.
No, she did not.
I love it. The Prego suit is amazing, especially when he walks in. He's like, who knocked up your sister? I love this movie. I love everything about it. I think it is, for me, it is the top movie. It is the one I remember the most.
It really
from
is.
the 90s.
And it's one of the movies that I think I watched the most.
It is one of the
repeat.
movies where, like, it didn't annoy my mom. When I watched it, she actually really likes this movie too. So I think it hits on a lot of levels because you had the dad, you had the counselor, you had those things. So it's approachable and it has staying power.
It really does.
I think it's still relevant today.
Yeah, I think so too. And not only that, it still holds up to today.
The quivering member, yes. The quivering member. I love it. And I love her cat mug.
Yes.
Cat. Wow. I love it. I love her so much.
What do you call it? Jason Gordon-Lewis?
Yeah.
Whatever the fuck his name is. You know who I'm talking about. Looper, amongst many of other things. Brick, which is another glorious movie.
Yes, and it is relatable for single parents. I like that it
really
has
is.
single parents in the movie. I like the fact that it's also one of those ones where...
Which was rare in the 90s, actually.
It was. But I like that it's also about sisters. It's about that relationship. It hits on a lot of levels. It's the relationship with boys during that time. It's that sister relationship. Yeah. It's the parent-child relationship. I love it. I think it hits on all cylinders. And I like Julia Stiles in this movie. I don't normally like her movies. There are not many that I like. But I like her in this movie. I think she did a really amazing job. And I love the girl who played her sister.
Dance. Yeah.
I don't remember who played
I don't
the
remember her name.
She's got a really hard to pronounce name, I think.
Yeah,
but
I don't remember.
I love her sister in it. I love the boys in it. I think they're great.
Another sequence that I personally love is when they go through the different cliques. That they go from the rodeo people to the Rastas.
But Heath Ledger singing, serenading Julia Stiles.
Oh my God, that was
Come on.
glorious.
It's glorious. I love it. I love the whole. I think this movie it gets a really high rating for me. It's why it's my number one.
Yeah,
it would be, and this one is one that would make my top 50 of all time.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. So amazingly enough, we only had one crossover in the whole thing, but it ended up being our number one, which that was pretty fucking
hilarious. And it was the number one for everyone out there as well. So.
Exactly. So
Joseph Gordon. Levi?
Yeah.
Levitt. Okay, cool. Yeah.
Thank you, Jen.
Thank you.
But anyways, yes, thank you guys for staying tuned. Mm-hmm. My name is Louis.
But before we sign off, be on the lookout for our next one, or one that's coming up soon, which we decided would be the top 10 Nickelodeon shows. I don't think we're doing Nicktoons. It's shows specifically, right? Or
Nick shows, period.
Nick shows of the 90s.
Yes.
When there was still Face. Do y'all remember Face?
Yes. Oh, and we're going to pimp this one out because I have so much memory.
Be on the lookout because we want to hear your favorite shows from the 90s. Personally, I was a Clarissa Explains It All fan.
Yes.
Salute your shorts.
Yes.
Camp on Awana. Be on the lookout for that one coming soon.
Are You Afraid of the Dark?
Are You Afraid of the Dark was my show. I love that show so much.
And I got some hidden gems in there too.
It's going to be good.
No pun intended.
Okay, so signing off, I am Naomi.
Yes, and we are Midnight Movie Nerds. We'll check you guys out next time.